Lizzie and welcome to my garden here at the Raised Press. It is unfortunately that sad time of year when the tulips have looked like they've gone through a few rounds with Mike Tyson. They've definitely gone over, the petals are falling off. There's a few I might leave for a couple of days, but really we now need to start to think about what we're going to do next with our tulips. So there's a few different options you can do and people will tell you different things. Some people treat their tulips like annuals, so they plant them for 1 year, dig them up, and so some people will dig them up and only ever use them for 1 year. Now, tulips are sometimes a little bit unreliable, particularly if you've got any special or double varieties. They tend to be much shorter. Each year on year they become shorter and their colour often isn't as vivid and vibrant. So if you are really particular in your garden and you want really like the best show ever, then my main advice would be to replant your tulip bulbs every year. However, I do that in this section and I will dig these up and replant next year with fresh tulips. However, around the back at the corner, I would love some extra colour, and we've paid money for these bulbs, so I want them to last as long as possible. So I will reuse them, but in areas where I want the tulips to look spectacular, I will replant, dig up and replant, and where I'm not too bothered what they look like, but think I just want some extra colour in different parts of the garden, I will do what I'm going to show you next. So if you want to use tulips next year, then this is some top tips for you. The first thing that you've got to do is deadhead those tulips. You can see the petals have all fallen off, and this is the bit that is kind of trying to reproduce when the pollen goes in. It's trying to then create seeds, but we don't want that. We want all of the energy to die back and go into the bulb, and the bulb will store that energy that's from all of the foliage that's died back, and it will create an even bigger and better display next year. So if you are going to leave your tulips where they are, the first thing you need to do is deadhead, and I use my deadheading snips on tulips because they're not too tough, and you don't want to be cutting back. And in other deadheading videos I'll tell you to go all the way back to the leaves, but on this example you just want to take the heads off right at the top to stop it going from seed, and that just stops the energy of the plant going into the seed and instead goes back to the bulb for a better display next year. So if you want to leave them where they are, that's probably the easiest option, is to deadhead them, leave them where they are, let them die back, and only when the foliage has died all the way back do you then clear it up and get ready to plant some stuff for summer. The other option you can do, which is probably what I will do with these, is to deadhead them, let them die back, and then I will dig them up and move them to another area of the garden. So we'll carry on deadheading these. It's going to take me a little while, and then I will let the foliage die back and move them. You can also deadhead them, move them straight away, but you need to make sure that you let that foliage die back. I can't stress that enough. If you don't let the foliage die back, they won't be as vibrant and vivid. Now these ones are single varieties, so they only had one sort of set of petals. They weren't sort of double frilly ones, so they are going to come back a little bit more reliably next year. But if you do have a super ruffly one or one with fringing, etc., these have been bred over many years to try and get that sort of fringing, and that just means that they're less reliable to come back year on year. So if you are in autumn planning on planting lots of tulip bulbs that you want to leave year after year, then my recommendation would be to go for the single ones or a mix of both and pull up the double-headed ones. Now, one of the questions I got from someone recently was, I've got my tulips in a pot, what do I do with them, and can I leave them? You can leave your tulips in the pot, but make sure you deadhead them. They won't come back as reliably next year. My advice would be to get them out, plant fresh new ones next year. You'll have such a better display, and for the few pounds that it is to buy new bulbs, but the amount of joy that it gives us all to have brilliant containers is definitely worth it in my opinion. I will be moving these ones to a different part of the garden. There's probably going to be loads of questions about tulips. Feel free to send them my way, comment below, send me an email, send me a DM, more than happy to help. I think tulips are fantastic plants and bulbs. I think they're brilliant. I think every garden should have them, whether you've got a balcony, whether you've got a patio and courtyard garden, or whether you've got a huge garden, you definitely want some tulips in your life. And just by deadheading them, you'll just make sure that you have the best display next year. Or if you want a spectacular display, plant fresh every year as well. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you've got any questions, and have fun deadheading all of your tulips because it gets a little bit addictive after a while.